Hey, what's happening? This is Jerry over at Wealth Dynamics. I hope you're having a great day. Coming at you really quick tonight with a live video on the Wells Fargo Scandal. So I own a company called Wealth Dynamics if you're just tuning in. And so what I do is I help people create wealth. Okay? And wealth means an abundance and prosperity in all areas of life. And there's only 4 ways to get there. There's gaining financial knowledge, making more money, keeping more of the money you make, and then multiplying that money that you've kept in order to fund your 10x super life. Now, while you're doing this deal with your finances, you need to be aware. We talk about keeping money. You need to be aware of where your money goes to and what's done with it. Okay, most of us, when we were kids, we were taught when you get money, you put it in a bank. Okay, to the point that you literally had a piggy bank. Like you were taught and marketed to as a 6-year-old with pennies and quarters to give the bank money. All right. Now, this is going to be about Wells Fargo and their CEO. So their CEO just received a bonus. Okay, they literally gave him a bonus on his court date. Okay, now what was he in court for? If you remember back in 2016, Wells Fargo illegally opened up accounts for over 2 million customers. 2 million people that bank with Wells Fargo had accounts illegally opened up. Okay, this wasn't like an accident. It wasn't like an oops. Realize it happened 2 million times. That is a lot of times. There aren't that many things that you do 2 million times in a year. They did that 2 million times that year, which means basically they forged people's signatures. They had no authorization. They did it anyways. And the reason why is they wanted to generate fees. All right. Now, the reason this should anger you, even if you didn't have Wells Fargo, any bank could do this. But this goes back to the problem with banking. And this is one of the things that steals your wealth. There's 3 groups that are actually out to sabotage your wealth creation. And that's going to be the IRS. That's going to be Wall Street. And then chiefly, the worst one, central banks, the Federal Reserve banking system. All right. So think about, they gave them a bonus, right? Awesome. Great. But where did the bonus come from? Banks don't have money. Banks have your money. How do they have money? Where did they get money to give this guy a bonus? You're like, oh, well, it's from their revenue. Yeah, but banks never had money in the first place. The only reason they had money is because you as the depositor gave it to them. So how did they bonus them? Was it your money? Think about this. The bank doesn't have a product. And you're watching the video and you're like, well, yeah, they do. They have loans. Yeah, but whose money got loaned out in the first place? That wasn't their money. That was your money. You deposited money to the bank and then you went back and borrowed your own money from the bank at an interest rate. And they paid you nothing. Okay, so the reason banks have money for bonuses is they do something called fractional reserve banking. Fractional reserve banking means that for every $1 you give to a bank, they take your $1, and this makes no mathematical sense, but it's true. They take your $1 and they give your $1 to 9 people at the same time. That's called fractional reserve banking. They can loan at a 10-to-1 ratio. They've only got to keep a 10% reserve requirement. That's why it's called fractional reserve. The reserve that they keep only is required to be a fraction of what was deposited. All right, so that's how banks have money. So think about this. You gave them $1. You probably weren't aware of this. You gave them $1. They took your $1. They loaned that out to 9 other people. They charge 5% interest, let's say on a car loan. What is 9 times 5? Oh yeah, that's 45%. Right, okay. So they charged 5% interest on 9 times on that $1. They made 45%. What did they pay you? What's your savings rate right now? 0.10, 0.25 if you give them $100,000 for a CD. That's how they make their money, guys. And that's why this should piss you off. So the bank does that system. And by the way, it's in your forms. When you sign up for a bank account, that's what's in the fine print. I don't think you knew this stuff. I didn't till I learned it, right? And so they have this just gigantic Ponzi scheme of how they make money. There's a bunch of information I can share with you on this, but what I want to lead this to is that wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. In fact, for Wells Fargo, that was so under enough for them that they felt the need to fraudulently open up 2 million more accounts that year without customer authorization, without actually like getting like interest. Okay, how would you feel? How would you feel as a business owner if I secretly caused you to buy my product without you knowing about it? That would be pretty terrible, right? And then if you find out that I did that, then you look at why, and you're like, dude, you've made tons of money on my money already. Why are you even doing this? And I'm like, oh, I just wanted more revenue. I just needed to hit quota. I needed to make sure that my shares look good. And on top of all this, they pay a $1 billion fine. Wells Fargo had to pay a $1 billion fine because of that nonsense. By the way, where did that $1 billion come from? Oh yeah, that was your money. Remember? Because the bank doesn't actually have any. It was all just stuff you gave them. So they paid a $1 billion fine with money that they made from your money. By the way, they didn't tell you they were doing this. Opening up accounts with your money that they didn't tell you about. And then on top of that, after paying a $1 billion fine, they gave their CEO a bonus with money that they made with your money. Guys, think about how crazy this is. That's the banking system. There is not a reason you should have to give a bank money. So one of my missions is to disrupt central banking. Okay, I want you to actually get totally out of that system. Okay, and so we have a program we offer called Wealth Creation Banking. Okay, where we set up an account where you save money into, you're actually removed from the central banking system. You're able to leverage the money the same way the bank does, but you do it for yourself. Because honestly, like, that's not a bad deal, right? Think about, like, all right, if I was like, hey, I've got this business plan and you give me $1, I can turn it into $9 and then earn 45% interest on those dollars. And by the way, the federal government's going to insure it just in case we lose any. You would actually be like, dude, that's a brilliant idea. The reason why you'd be okay with it is because you knew about it and you got a piece of the upside. The reason it's not okay with a bank is because you didn't know about it and you don't get any of the upside. Okay, so if you're watching this tonight and you're like, man, what was this video about? What this video was about is you need to stop giving the bank your money. Okay, you need to become your own bank. If you look at the wealthiest people in history, they have all at some point gotten involved in the banking system in one way or another, whether they were an actual bank, whether they became a bank to other people, or whether they became a bank to themselves. They got involved in the banking system. You look at the Rothschilds, you look at the Rockefellers, the Morgans. Like, did you know JP Morgan founded GE? Like, that's the truth of the matter, dude. So if you look at, like, that guy didn't have any business other than lending money to other people's business, which was money he got from them in the first place, and he made enough money doing that he could co-found GE, literally steal it from Thomas Edison, kick him out, and then turn it into General Electric. You need to be on that train. So guys, I hope that this video causes you to think a little bit differently about the banking system. A lot of us just regurgitate what we were taught when we were kids, which is you take your money to the bank, you put your money in a piggy bank, you open up a savings account when you're 16, and you just let them do whatever you want them to do with the money. I honestly used to think that they would just stick my money in like a shoebox and leave it in the safe. Isn't that cute? I thought that they would take my money and they'd stick it in the safe and then it would just stay there. That's not at all what happens. So guys, if you want to get out of this system, I want you to go to wealthdynamics.com. That's WEALTH Dynamics, DYNAMX.com. We do have one question here. What about Roth IRAs? So Roth IRAs. Excellent question, Mike. Good to see you tonight. So the only thing, and this is a totally different video, I'm just going to ask you one question and tell me what your answer would be. Do you feel comfortable investing in an account where you're in business with the IRS? That's all that you need to think about. Okay, do you want to be in business with the IRS and an account they establish? That's literally the free candy in the van. I'm going to give you a tax write-off if you put your money in here. And then think about once the money's in that account, who's it going to go to? Oh yeah, Wall Street. So that's my thought on IRAs. I've got some other content I'll drop out there for you guys. Have a fantastic night. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to y'all soon.